Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Hands-On channel. We're out here in my woods today just doing a little bit of work, doing some chainsaw work and stuff like that, and it's given me a lot of time to think about things. You know, for the past few nights, I don't know, honestly, about a week or so, I've been kind of staying up late at night. We're doing a little research on the nationwide diesel shortage. Have you heard of this? I mean, this could affect everyone because, you know, the whole system, the whole delivery, just-in-time delivery system operates on semi-trucks being able to bring groceries to your store every day, right? Or every other day, whatever it is. If you don't have those deliveries, then those store shelves are going to dry up. So I hope you guys are already stocked up by now, because it's going to be very difficult at this point, just financially speaking, to go out and get stocked up. But hopefully you're already stocked up, and even if you are, go out and get a little bit of extra stuff, because it looks like in the next, I don't know, about 15 days is what they're predicting. We're going to be out of diesel in the United States of America by November 14th or 15th, I believe it is what they're saying. Now, apparently there's a huge problem with not being able to get the distillates that they use to process diesel. And also there's a limiting factor of we don't have enough refineries. I've talked about in several of my videos that one of our ways that we can become more independent, energy independent as a nation, is to build more refineries, but the EPA will not allow any new refineries to be built. Ever since Obama did, you know, pass the Clean Air Act or whatever it was, one of those commie acts that he passed back in like 08 or 09, 010, whatever. Ever since then, it's just been going downhill. You can't build anything. You know, the coal plants, you're not allowed to build new coal plants because they can't possibly meet the requirements that the EPA has set forth. We saw the whole deal during the dark winter last year, where people literally froze to death down in Texas because they weren't allowed to tap into proven, reliable energy sources. Instead, they were forced to use solar and wind first, renewable energy first, and people froze to death over that deal. I mean, this is life and death here, guys. We're going into the winter time. I was telling my wife on the way over here, we could be facing this diesel shortage alone could be marching us rapidly towards that dark winter that FJB talked about when he first came into office. I think the dark winter could be this year. So I want to read you some of these headlines that have been keeping me up at night, and just hopefully you guys will go out and do your own research. And if you have anything that runs on diesel, like generators or anything like that, I suggest you stock up on it now. You may not be able to get it in the next month or so. Headline: U.S. diesel supplier warns businesses to prepare for shortages, higher prices for consumers. So obviously, as shipping and things like that are harder to do because of the lack of diesel, then the prices on shipping and things like that are going to go up. It will cause a cascading effect, and you will feel it at your grocery store, in your wallet. The U.S. diesel shortage is worsening. So the U.S. diesel shortage is worsening as distillate inventories crash to multi-year lows. And again, that's because of the EPA and other groups like that. Policies, Democrat policies that are bringing this country down, no doubt about it. U.S. refineries permanently shut down some of the refinery capacity at the start of the pandemic when fuel demand plunged. So they've shut some of those refining capabilities down since the pandemic, and they never started them back up, probably because the energy prices are so extremely high right now that it's not worth it to them as far as profitability. A diesel shortage and high diesel prices don't bode well for the global economy, which could tip into recession at some point next year. And we're already there, guys. This is not a recession. This is like the robber barons robbing us blind. That's what this is, guys. I'm sure you know, people that follow the Hands-On channel, you already know this. Diesel is far from the only shortage the U.S. is facing. So earlier this month, Americans learned there was less than a month's supply of diesel left in storage. It's the lowest supply since 2008 and has led to skyrocketing prices as U.S. refineries struggle to keep up with demand. And again, if they were allowed to expand in better times, we wouldn't be facing this. But it does not stop there. Dozens of other sectors are struggling to meet demand, and the U.S. has experienced shortages ranging from employees to medications to parts needed for U.S. defense contractors and weapons. And of course, meanwhile, we're sending all of our weapons over to Ukraine, and we're not able to replenish our inventories here in the United States of America. That is a dangerous recipe for failure. I mean, that's a recipe for disaster, just like tapping the strategic oil reserves with no plan to refill them at cheap prices. Because if they did refill them, you know, sidetrack here, Trump tried to get even more oil reserves and more containers built to hold more and more oil back when oil was dirt cheap. He was trying to buy it and get the nation ahead with an oil surplus, but the Democrats would not allow him to do that. Food shortages. Shortages are caused by national issues too, such as logistics problems and trucking and air support or air transport issues. For example, dairy production is down because of a labor shortage, which leads to a shortage of dairy products like butter, just as America is heading toward holiday season. So we're getting ready to go into holiday season. You're not going to be able to get any butter, or at least not cheaply like you used to be able to get it. So WOMAC says here that products that have a short shelf life like butter, and if they're caught up in transportation delays, suppliers might have to toss the items out before they arrive because of the expiration date. So, I mean, it makes sense. And we're hearing a lot of reports. If you follow Southern Prepper One, he does like a daily show, Boots on the Ground, I think he calls it. And I've heard lots of reports coming out of his channel from around the country that people aren't getting fresh stuff, like whether it be canned or produce or anything like that. They're buying this stuff and it's rotting out in like days instead of weeks like it did before. So something is definitely going on already. And you top this with the diesel shortage that's coming up. You know, of course, if we had responsible leadership, they'd be getting ahead of this and trying to fix this problem rather than just letting it fester and turn into a terrible catastrophe, potentially, you know. In other cases, weather and outbreaks of avian flu have impacted the supply of potatoes and turkeys, respectively. Severe drought conditions also have decreased the supply of rice, winter wheat, tomatoes, and olive oil, according to a recent report by Money Talks News. So, I mean, the perfect storm is on the horizon, guys. I hope and I pray that you're all stocked up and prepared, because we could be facing harder times than America has seen, certainly in my lifetime, but I'm going to say back to the Great Depression. Just food shortages, things that, you know, maybe it won't be a shortage. Maybe there'll be plenty of food on the shelf, but you won't be able to afford it because the prices have just exploded to such a point that it just doesn't make sense to buy that item anymore. So I don't know. Diesel shortages are prompting concerns as energy prices skyrocket ahead of a winter. So we're already hearing about shortages of like heating oil. Now, I'm not in a state where we use heating oil or anything like that. Apparently up in the northeastern United States, they still use a lot of heating oil and coal and different things like that to heat their home. And they're already having shortages and stuff. So imagine what it's going to be like when you're propane man or your heating oil man can't turn his vehicle on because he has no diesel fuel, or the farmer can't turn his tractor on because he has no diesel fuel, so he can't harvest the crops. I mean, this is a perfect storm, and a responsible administration would be getting out ahead of this thing and trying to, you know, put some sort of a safety net in so that it didn't completely collapse. So why is there a diesel shortage this year? There are 4 factors, but 2 of those factors are in play every year. So distillate demand spikes at this time of year, but it does this every year. So they knew this was coming, but again, the refineries and other things aren't allowed to bolster up their production to meet the demands that could be coming. And again, it may not be profitable for them to do that, so they're not going to do it, obviously. So this is also the time of the year that refineries are doing maintenance, and they tend to do that in the spring and fall, which is when demand is lower and the weather is decent. So refinery capacity drops at this time of year automatically. So we're already facing this. Third, the U.S. refinery capacity has fallen in the past few years as several unprofitable refineries were closed. I wonder why that was. Why were they deemed unprofitable? Why were they made to be unprofitable? It's because of Biden saying that he was going to go after the energy sector. You know, he gets that from his boss, Barack Obama, back when he said, you know, and I can't say it enough, he said, under my energy policies, your energy prices will necessarily skyrocket. He was trying to bring in a cap and trade tax on the United States at that time, and somehow we just barely avoided that catastrophe that would have created. And I don't know if it was because we had a Republican Senate or Congress at that time. I don't know. I don't remember all that. But we barely avoided catastrophe back during Obama. And I remember just being constantly every week just shaking my head and going, man, I mean, this guy Obama, he's doing so many different things to destroy the country that you can't even focus on one thing, because by the time the end of the week comes along, there'll be 3 or 4 other things that he's already done that's distracting you from what you were focusing on earlier in the week. So that's the same thing, the same playbook that we're seeing play out right now by the Biden administration. And it's not Biden doing it. They're just using his name. He's got his shadow people all behind him doing all of this stuff behind the scenes. And, you know, also NGOs, the lobbyists, you know, what's the other one? Think tanks. These people are doing it as well. They're bringing down our country, bringing in communism, and trying to destroy the thing that has brought more prosperity to the United States than any other one single item. It's oil. Oil. I mean, it's just unbelievable. These people are just, I mean, they're freaking communists, and I can't stand them. But the primary reason for the cutoff is Russian imports. So we've been meddling over in Ukraine, right? Since back in 2014 when Victoria Nuland went over there and started the whole mess over there. Prior to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the U.S. was importing nearly 700,000 barrels per day of BPD, and that's petroleum and petroleum products. Most of those imports were finished products and refinery inputs that boosted distillate supplies in the U.S. So we had a good deal going on with Russia before, again, Biden and Victoria Nuland and Barack Obama went over to Ukraine back in 2014, started meddling around and stuff like that. Even after that, we had a good deal until the invasion of Ukraine, when Biden started putting sanctions on Putin, trying to hurt their economy and stuff. And we all see how that's worked out. Putin is actually, the Russian economy, at least from my understanding, is doing way better than the United States economy. Way better than they've done in a long, long time, because everybody wants to buy that product that they produce, oil and natural gas. And we're finding more and more about the, allegedly, Russia saying they have proof that the British were the ones that blew up the Nord Stream pipeline, the couple of pipelines that got blown up like 2 weeks ago, right? Supposedly the British were the ones responsible for that. I don't know what kind of proof the Russians have, but, you know, as sad as it is, as corrupt as our mainstream media is, I tend to believe the Russian story more. I give it more credit than I give any story coming out of the Biden administration, because they will openly lie to you. Biden said just a week ago or so that when he came into office, gas prices were $5 a gallon and he brought them down to $3. That is a complete, utter lie. And I know you guys remember. The gas prices around my neighborhood were like just hovering right around $2 a gallon when Biden came in. So this guy is hell-bent on destroying the United States of America. Whether we like it or not, he's in charge right now, and the people around him are in charge right now. So I highly recommend you go out not only on Election Day and do your part to try to get rid of this clown show that we're experiencing here in the United States, but prepare now. This may be your last chance. We're going into winter months. We're going into the harvest season. Harvest is going to be a lot lower than it's ever been, at least in recent years. And we could see people starving to death because they can't feed themselves. They can't heat their homes, freezing to death, things like that. So guys, please stock up now, prepare now while you can. Time is running out. Wish I didn't have to always report bad stories like this, but that's the way it is. And I appreciate you tuning in. Let me know what your thoughts are on all of these different issues we're facing as a nation. What can you do right now to stock up? One thing great about diesel is if you can get a hold of it right now, diesel has a much longer shelf life than gasoline. So that's something you can put up in your shed and have it for months and months and months and not have to worry about, probably years even, if you put the conditioner in it. So guys, appreciate you tuning in, stopping by. Please go stock up now. God bless you. God bless the United States of America for as long as it lasts. I stand for liberty. I hope you do too.